Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing well. I'm going to read Cranford chapter 7, Sudden News. An idea had come into my head. Was Peter Jenkins of Cranford now the Aga Jenkins of Chandra Badad? Could it be possible? I decided to ask the Cranford lady some questions without explaining what I suspected. I did not learn much. Miss Poole believed that Peter had become something important in Tibet. Mrs. Forrester said he had been rather handsome. They both thought the last news of him had come from India. That was almost all I discovered. Meanwhile, however, something extraordinary was going on around us, and we all, even Miss Poole, failed to notice. I remember the morning she came to tell us. It was nearly calling time. Miss Maddie and I had just been discussing Signor Brunoni and that clever Mr. Hawkins when someone knocked at the door. We were hurrying to change our caps when Miss Poole ran up the stairs. It's not 12, I know, she called, but I must speak to you. What do you think? Mr. Hawkins is going to marry Lady Glanmere. Marry? We said. Marry? I had it in Mr. Johnson's shop. Perhaps it's not true, said Miss Mary hopefully. It's true, said Miss Poole. I went straight to Mrs. Fitz Adam, and she said her brother and Lady Glanmere had come to an understanding. Understanding? Such a vulgar word. But my lady will have to hear many vulgar words now. I believe Mr. Hawkins drinks beer at supper every night. Mary, repeated Miss Maddie. Well, two people that we know going to be married is coming very near. I'm not surprised that Mr. Hawkins likes her, I said. But now, can she like Mr. Hawkins? Oh, Mr. Hawkins is rich and very pleasant looking, said Miss Mary, and very kind. We began to wonder what the Honorable Mrs. Jamieson would say. Mrs. Jamieson had recently gone down to Cheltenham in the care of Mulina, leaving Lady Glanmere to manage her house and to stop her maids taking flowers. And while she was away, Lady Glanmere had herself taken a follower whom Mrs. Jamieson thought was vulgar and not good enough for Cranford society. Had Mr. Hawkins ever visited Lady Glanmere at Mrs. Jamieson's house? We wondered. Oh, had they only met at the lodgings of the poor sick conjuror? Certainly, they had both been very kind to him. Well, what next? When would the wedding be? Hunt good servants announced a married couples as Lady Glanmere and Mr. Hawkins. Would anyone visit the couple? Oh dear, would we have to choose between visiting Dell, Mrs. Jamieson, and bride Lady Glanmere? Next time we saw Lady Glanmere in charge, she looked happy and younger than before. Mr. Hawkins too looked happy, and he was wearing his first new pairs of boots for 25 years. But none of the Cranford ladies said anything to either of them about their marriage. Auntie Mrs. Jamieson returned. Indeed, we did not know what to say. But it was now March, and Mr. Johnson announced the arrival of the spring fashions at his shop. Miss Maddie had been waiting for this before buying herself a new silk dress. In our excitement, we forgot for the moment about Lady Glanmere. On the Tuesday on which Mr. Johnson was going to show the new fashions, two letters were waiting for us on the breakfast table. One was to me from my father Adele, businessman's letter. There were unpleasant reports about the town and county bank, he wrote, and he hoped Miss Maddie did not still have shares in it. He had warned her sister years ago not to put money into that bank, but she had not listened to his advice. Who is your letter from, my dear? Asked Miss Maddie. Mine is from the town and county bank asking me to an important meeting of the shareholders in Cranford on Thursday. It's kind of them to remember me. I was alarmed at this important meeting and was afraid that my father's fears were right. However, bad news always came fast enough, so I decided to say nothing for the moment. I simply told Miss Maddie that my father sent his best wishes, then unchanged the conversation. What time should we go to see the fashions? I asked. Well, the correct time to go is after 12 o'clock, she said. But then all Cranford will be there, and I'd rather not look at dresses and caps in front of everyone. So let's go this morning after breakfast. I need half a pound of tea. We can buy that and choose the silk for my new dress. Then we can go quietly upstairs, look at the fashions, and decide the style for my dress. The young man at Mr. Johnson wore their best clothes and their best minds. Miss Mary bought her tea, then began looking at silks. It was Cranford's market day, and many country people came into the shop. One honest-looking man stood next to us and asked to look at some shawls for his wife. He hesitated. Miss Maddie hesitated too. She would like a sea green silk. No, that lovely red. No, that bright yellow. Our neighbor finally chose a shawl and held out £5 note. The shop boy looked at the note. Town and County Bank. I think we were warned this morning not to accept this bank's notes. I would just ask Mr. Johnson. What? The poor farmer could not believe it. Miss Maddie forgot her new silk dress. Which bank did your note belong to? She asked him. Town and County. Mr. Johnson, very sorry. Mr. Dobson, the boy said as he brought the note back, but the bank's notes were worthless. I don't understand, Miss Maddie said to me in a low voice. Town and County is my bank, isn't it? Yes, this yellow silk will match the ribbons in your new cap. I continued quickly, holding it up and wishing the man would go away. Never mind the silks for a moment, dear, she said, putting her hand gently on mine and looking at the farmer. I'll give you £5 coins for your note, Mr. Dabson, she said, but there must be some mistake. I'm a shareholder in that bank and I have not been told about any problem. The short boy whispered across the table to Miss Maddie. She looked at him and suddenly, I don't understand business, she said, but if honest people are going to lose the money because they have our notes then, oh, I can explain myself. Just give me your note, please, Mr. Dobson, and then you can take the shawl for your wife. The farmer looked at her gratefully but hesitated for a moment. I wouldn't like anybody else to lose money instead of me, he said. But you see, madam, £5 is a lot of money to a man with a family. I'm sure that's a mistake, said Miss Maddie quietly. And a few days everything will be all right. She pushed her 5 gold coins towards the farmer, who slowly put down his note. Thank you, Miss Maddie said. I'll wait a day or two before I buy any of these silks. She told the boy, my dear, will you come upstairs and see the fashions? Miss Maddie looked with great interest at all new dresses and bonnets and shawls. She seemed unworried by what had happened downstairs, but as we came down through the shop, Mr. Johnson was waiting for us. It was true, he said. The bank was in serious trouble. Miss Matty showed no surprise or alarm. Cranford ladies thought it was vulgar to show their feelings in a shop. However, we walked home very silently and neither of us ate much dinner. Later, in the drawing room, Miss Mary unlocked her desk and began to look through her bills and papers. After a while, she came and sat next to me by the fire and put my hand into hers. She held it but did not speak. At last she said, "If that bank goes wrong, I will lose £149 a year. I will only have £13 a year left." It was too dark to see her face, but I knew that she was crying. "Oh, I'm so glad poor Deborah is not here." That was all she said about the sister who had put their money in that unlucky bank. We lit the candle later than usual that day. After tea, however, we talked about Lady Glanmere. Miss Matty had begun to think it was a good idea for her to marry Mr. Hawkins. "A man knows what to do where there are problems," she said, "and Mr. Hawkins, though a little rough, is very nice. I've known good, clever people who were not in society but were both true and loving." She began to daydream about Mr. Holbrook, and I did not stop her. I had decided what to do. That night, after she went to bed, I lit the candle again and sat down in the drawing room to write a letter to the Aga Jaggins. The church clock struck 2 before I had finished. The next morning news came that the town and county bank had failed. Miss Matty had lost all her money. She now had only about £1 a month on which to live, but many poor people have less. She said, "Poor mother, I think she'll be sorry to leave me." She smiled at me through her tears, and I think she wanted me to see only the smile, not the tears. Finish. That is Cranford chapter 7, sudden news. If you like my podcast, please like and subscribe my YouTube channel, Lex Relax. Stay tuned next podcast. Bye bye.